Alright, thanks for joining me tonight, guys. I realize it might not be nighttime where you are, but tonight while I'm recording this, it's late, the kids are asleep, and I finally have some peace and quiet to get a project done. And I'm also going to test out my first 2-camera video. So let's see how this works. So you'll see me here, you'll see me there, and hopefully I can give you some good shots. So when it comes to our project tonight, I've got a couple big projects we're going to do. One of the projects coming up is a new pedal board build I'm doing for a new project I'm doing. So I've got a project, I need a new board for the project, and in order to get the new board set up, I have a couple of peripherals that I need to get squared away. So this is one that I've already built. And what is it and why is it so important? This is a patch bay. You'll see 2 jacks there, you'll see 2 jacks there. This guy is a nice little, it's a mini pedal housing. Maybe I'll do it under here. It's a mini pedal housing pedal that will fit nicely underneath a pedal train, pedal board, and others. I tend to use a pedal train just because I like the way their layout works. But if you look inside, I'll give you a nice close-up. You have here a jack and a jack, which goes right through with a hot cable, and then one here. So you can take your jack, plug it in from your guitar, go in through your pedals, and come out, and then go to your amp. So when you do that, you allow a lot more freedom for your board, a lot more flexibility, and it's a pretty inexpensive, fun thing to do yourself. If you wanted to, you can go and buy these for not a whole lot of money. There are a couple manufacturers that make them. They're usually like one-man operation places. I know Nose Pedal is a place that you can get this, just NOSE. They'll make something like this. They do custom builds and things like that. And then there's a couple other guys out there that will, have them for sale. Maybe you pick one up used. They don't typically show up very often used on Reverb and Guitar Center, but to the hunters, have at it. Myself, they're not very expensive. It's actually cheaper for me to buy these on like Amazon and go to a regular dealer without a dealer account than it is for me to try and hook up and work with someone and get like a dealer discount. So so even with my setup, as far as just going and buying them from a regular website, the jacks are a couple bucks a piece. The enclosures, depending on the ones you pick, anywhere from $3 to $10. This one right here is a Hammond setup. I'm not sure which angle this is going to be at when it's done. But this is the Hammond setup enclosure. The one that I got today to work with is not Hammond. It is a just generic enclosure. It seems to fit pretty well. They look almost identical when you put them next to each other. So today we're going to cut this up. I got a couple of them I have to make. We're going to cut this up. I'm going to show you a couple different techniques. This one right here is the one as my example to show you because I've already got this one done. This one's probably been in service for me for about 5 years. And today I'm going to try something new. I'm going to work with this new enclosure. The reason why I was interested is that you can see it's that much thinner. So if it goes under a board, it's actually going to be pretty aerodynamic. But also in situations where you can't go under the board, you can also put this down on top of a board and maybe even have like a tuner pedal or something on there, like a tuner pedal or something on top of the board, and it's sleek and you can run your cables in and out and not take up a whole lot of space. So this guy is just going to be simple. So this is where I'm going to drill the holes and do here, and then another one here, in, out, and then we're good to go. So Between the two of them, you know, it's really just which shape works best for your board. You know, there isn't really a right or conventional way. I mean, you know, these are conventional pedal housings, but you can really use whatever you want to fit, as long as you can get the jack on each side. It doesn't really matter. These you have to offset, because two jacks going in together won't be long enough. Like so. If I put this guy in this way and I put this guy in this way, I can't line them up in the same way. I would have to split them up. So if I put this guy in this way and this guy this way, they would have to get split up, and that's where you see how this guy works. So boom, and then you got the overlap, but it's okay. On the flip side, if I have this guy set up, I'll be able to put these guys in and they won't even touch. So just depends on what kind of layout you have and what you need. If you need something to be extra thin, if you need something to be extra fat or, you know, flat, it doesn't matter. So feel free to experiment and try any housing. Another thing too is you can take a housing that's bigger, like a almost like a dual pedal, like a if you're thinking about, you know, even like a MXR Phase 90 size pedal might be big enough. You know, JHS, you know, standard housing pedal. I don't have any in front of me right now, but if you take a standard housing pedal, sometimes depending on the layout, they take up more space. They may not fit under a pedal board, but you can do, say, 4 ins and outs. So if you're going in, out, effects loop, back, you can set up, you know, 4, 6, 8, depending on the size of what the pedal housing that you have to work with. You can actually make them much larger. There's a couple of guys out there that offer like a 5. It's a 5-way patch bay, so that you can go like in and then out stereo, effects loop stereo, the whole 10. You know, those are really cool. For my personal needs and what I have going on, I want this guy right here to fit under my Pedal Train PT1 board. You'll see how that works in the video when I build the pedal board. But I want it to fit right there, nooked in the corner. I'm actually going to have them on each side like this, so I can go in on one side and out on the other, and I'm doing that because I want these things to fit in the clearance side. If I use a regular thickness pedal that will allow me to do all my ins and outs on one side, the board will actually, like, when I go to put the board on the ground, the housing will actually hit before the board does, and then make it rock and put pressure on a weird spot in the board. So that's why I'm going with the minis, and that's why I use this technique. It doesn't mean you couldn't use another technique that would work well for you. So take the tips and tricks, and then if you need to mod them to your personal situation, you know, have at it, have fun. I'm not teaching you that you have to do it this way. I'm just trying to give you better information so that you can take what I teach you and use your imagination to fit your situation. And so when we're all said and done with this, not just to, you know, write comments and tell me, you know, which worked for you and everything, take pictures. Hit us up on Instagram. You know, The Guitar Crate on Instagram. Leave comments on YouTube. You know, come visit the website, guitarcrate.com, and tell me, you know, I mean, good or bad. Tell me how this has helped you, or tell me what I could have done to explain it better to you or anything like that. So, and of course, you can always reach out to us with your pictures, comments, questions at support@guitarcrate.com. And even if you're trying to do this project and there's something's confusing, you know, reach out. I'll help you out and see if I can figure out what the problem is. So with that said, let's get started. Before we worry about even having like which way to drill, because there are different schools of thought on how to drill and everything like that. Before we even get there, we want to make sure we mark up all these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break out my handy dandy ruler. So now once I have the pencil lines done, what you want to make sure that if I take these jacks and line them up, that they're all gonna fit. Now they're not all going on this side, but you want to make sure that you're not going to hit them coming up the other side. Now when it comes to drilling, there are two different mindsets for the drilling. There is there's this guy, which is a step drill. A lot of luthiers love these. A lot of, tech electronic guys love these because you go in, you get the exact measurement, and you're all set. I ironically do come from more of a carpentry background, more of like a, building houses, doing construction background. So this 3/8 drill bit here, it's a pretty cool drill bit because it's got a point that goes straight in, and then it's got these two edges. So they call these spade bits. They're also kind of like larger versions of what a Forstner styled bit would be. And actually there's really small Forstners and then there's huge Forstners. So, but this is going to give me a nice clean hole. I'm actually going to set this up in the drill press, so we'll go over there, and I'm going to set up drill press, line everything up, and so that way I can just and bust through on all of these. So, pick your poison. Everything is drilled. These guys did not go according to plan. Like I said, this is a new housing. It's gonna work, but I did not plan on it buckling and bending the way it did as aluminum, or just the type of aluminum it is. So it's not a fail, but it is, yeah. I try and have some authenticity in this shop, and that was a first time attempt. Didn't go according to plan perfectly. However, these, pretty standard. They're probably 90% in line with where they need to be. So I'm going to start by turning on my soldering iron. Get some water. And alright, so first things first, I'm going to get all of these mounted in. So the way I like to do things is I like to put a jack all the way in, or not all the way on the jack. The biggest part of this is this guy right here is the hot that I'm going to wire like so. So I like to make sure they're on top just so they're easy to get to. I have a fancy way of doing jacks. If you haven't watched my video on how to wire a Strat, I'll show you this. But if you put the nut in here, and then put your washer and nut on here, what you will learn is that this nut against this nut will never come loose. They will always fight each other. And that is better than any of those silly little prong things, and that will give you a much more stable, long-lasting jack. It will never get loose and wiggle around and all that kind of stuff. So then if you're ever concerned, you take this cable, there you go. Don't push on the tongs, but actually be pushing on this part right here so that when you tighten, you don't bend or break anything, because you don't want to mess with that, so you're pushing there. Ooh, see that? That's touching there. Right there. So, let's there we go. Cool. So this is a cloth wire, and this is a pushback wire. So I can literally pull and push back. There she is, ready to be screwed together. Hot to hot, hot to hot, ground to ground, well, ground to the box. And then these two go in here to there, and there you go. All set, ready to mount. All we need is a little naphtha and a little Velcro.